And we are live, ladies and gentlemen, for a new episode of the Electrek Podcast. I'm Fred Lambert, your host, and as always, I'm joined by Seth Wintrob. How are you doing today, Seth?
I'm good.
All right, we'll jump right into the news. It was a kind of a slower week in terms of EV news this week. Still have a few interesting news items to look into. Nothing groundbreaking or anything. We're also going to discuss later on Seth's review of the Mustang Mach-E. I know we discussed it a little bit last week, but he had more time to flesh out his thoughts on it and actually post the review, was been up since this morning on Electrek, so go check that out too. And that's gonna should be giving us more time to answer questions and discuss subject that you guys want to discuss too. Is so if you have any suggestion, you can put that right now in the comment section, and we'll get to it later. But we're gonna jump right in, starting with the Tesla Semi. I mean, there's some more hype these days around the Tesla Semi because after several delays, it looks like we're gonna actually see it reach production, hopefully soon. I mean, it was like almost like what 4 or 5 months ago that Elon like sent an email to all employees, and they were like, "Now it's time to bring the Semi to volume production." It's not the case yet, and but in the last earnings call, they said that they're gonna bring it to production this year. Though at the same time, Elon said the reason it's not in production right now is because we need to achieve volume production of cells because the cells are going to go inside the vehicle, inside of the Semi. So tempered expectation. But at the same time, also Drew Baglino said that they are on schedule for the 4680 ramp up so far, the 4680 battery cell. So what happened this week is that a new prototype, what is likely the first one, or at least the first one we've seen, first new one we've seen in 3 years. That thing was unveiled in 2017, and if you remember, there were two prototypes that were unveiled. There was a bigger silver one, and then there's a smaller black one that later was wrapped with like a red wrap. But this one is brand new. I mean, it's white, but it's more than that. The lines have changed a little bit. The windshield has changed. A few things that has changed here. It was spotted by the Kilowatt in Sacramento earlier this week, and it seemed like it was going towards the Gigafactory, but we learned today that it already made its way today to Chicago. So we don't know really where it's going, but it's interesting. It's on the flatbed, and it's going northeast.
Maybe they're showing it to new buyers.
Yeah, maybe. I was thinking maybe
think they'd drive it though.
Yeah, maybe it's going to Canada. Maybe Walmart Canada. We know that Walmart Canada has ordered a lot of those trucks, so maybe they want to show it to them.
That's a smaller one though, like the not like the 18-wheelers. It's a smaller. It looks smaller. I don't know. Maybe it's
no. It's an 18-wheeler too.
It's an 18-wheeler. Okay.
I mean, it looks smaller because of the top. It's not on. They didn't put the top for the when they're carrying it, but it pretty much look almost as big as the MLG next to right now. Mr. Corey Draper yesterday saw it at a truck stop, and he posted a video of it where he's giving us a much better look at the vehicle, a closer look, and you can see a few differences. They tamed a little bit the lines on the front, so you have still that big line over the fender right here, but there's another line here that has been toned down a lot. You can see it maybe a little bit more from here. What the hell was that? The whole house just shake for some reason. I'm not sure what happened.
Snow coming off the roof.
That's actually a possibility. You can see the line here that's pretty strong over the second line here on the new one. That there's still one, but it's been toned down a lot. I think it might make the overall cabin a little bit smaller, which might be better for the aerodynamic. Here, also the windshield and the hood, the slope here, the angle has changed a little bit in my opinion, but it's hard to say from those pictures. Extremely hard to say. A lot of things that change here at the bottom too. As you can see, it's very different from the original prototype, or that was a little bit updated prototype. And cameras on the side, like we know the cameras over here with the door. No, that's the door handle. Yeah, that's the door handle. But there was a camera here. Uh, Here, but it's not there. But again, the top here is not there either. So that might be added after transport.
Yeah, there's no rear view cameras there. I noticed.
Yeah, that we can see for sure.
Right.
I mean, the door handles were like a Model 3 door handles before. Like now they are different. People are saying that the windshield is different. It's not like wrapped around anymore. But I mean, it looks very similar to me. It might be like a little bit bigger of a pillar on the corners, but that's about it. He took a closer look at the chassis here, but we couldn't really see much from it. He was talking about this as if that was the battery pack, but of course that's not the battery pack.
It's probably like
Uh,
the inverter or something.
yeah, that's more likely.
Those have like what, four or more Model 3 or Model Y motors.
Yes, if I remember, it was 4. We can see there's a lot of space for a cabin in the back if you want to do like a bunk bed situation for a sleeper cab. Tesla said that that option would be coming at some point, but it's not going to be the first version of the semi. It's going to cater to a different market. But yeah, I mean, the fact that they have a new prototype here is already like good news. We know that Tesla has been hiring for a production line at Gigafactory for the semi, and eventually would want to move the production to Austin, Texas. But right now, they're too focused on Model Y in Austin, and also most likely the Cybertruck will come first, especially if they are establishing production in Nevada. It's just not worth it also to already invest in Austin. But once they want to reach higher production, it's probably going to be in Austin. It's also where they're going to produce 4680 cells. But yeah, encouraging. What we would like to know, though, is the spec of the production one, because the Tesla has been teasing the fact that the production version is going to have maybe a longer range than the 500 miles that was announced with the prototype. And they said that through the road testing that they did, they saw the potential for that. So Elon sort of teased 600 miles, but kind of walked that back more recently. So I don't know.
I mean, I guess theoretically they're configurable. Like if Walmart wants 200-mile ones, and Anheuser-Busch wants long haul 600-mile ones. Theoretically, Tesla could kind of build to order with some modular battery packs, or even if one semi is just going to be operating in Florida and another is going to be going over the Rockies, maybe you have a different amount of motors and power there.
Yeah, that's fair. It's probably not too hard to modify that for them. All right, moving on. Good news for the Model S and X, the new Model S and X. Like we've been reporting last week, that the launch, we didn't have all the information from the launch. Elon said that he was going to do another call maybe about it late last week or this week. It didn't happen, but he did have a sit-down interview with Sandy Monroe that they posted on their YouTube channel. For the most hardcore Tesla fans, there wasn't that much new information in there. But still an interesting talk. One of the only new pieces of information that came out of it that was really interesting was Elon confirmed that they switched to lithium-ion battery for the 12-volt battery inside the car. And so Tesla was using a lead acid for like almost everybody else as the 12-volt architecture battery in the car, so not the main battery. They've been talking about moving to a 48 volt. There's been rumor about just skipping the 48 volt architecture and just having a converter that would draw from the main battery pack. But short of doing those things, they at least, even though they retain the 12 volt, they moved to a lithium-ion battery, which is going to match the cycle life of the main battery pack. So that's a big advantage. Though that remains to be seen, because I know that I know that some people have already upgraded to lithium-ion, because of course, those batteries exist already. Tesla is also not the first to do that. I mean, Porsche did that with some of their cars, at least as an option.
Maybe even Hyundai has a 2017 plug-in hybrid with a lithium-ion 12 volt.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not surprising to me. It's not entirely new. At least I would argue actually this is a little bit late in the game, especially with their expertise in lithium-ion
Yeah, it's
batteries.
strange. Why?
Yeah. Well,
Why?
I don't even know if it's their own battery though. Are they making now the 12-volt battery? You think?
I don't know. They certainly have the expertise. I
Yeah.
don't, but it doesn't make sense to me why anybody uses lead acid batteries for anything ever. Like lithium is better in almost every single aspect. I guess maybe lead acid is good at really cold temperatures, but like for me, like I don't get lead acid in anything because you can get
Maybe
those
cost though. Though the Tesla's batteries were already pretty costly.
right. But I mean, when you think about the cost, it's like, well, what is the cost of having a really heavy, you know, battery with a toxic, you know, insides, and then, you know, that doesn't have the, you know, you can't charge it and discharge it nearly as much. To me, it's like the lithium metal batteries that they're using in China, like that would be a good, like if you want the lowest cost, I feel like that's the route to go, rather than using lead acid. But still, half the stuff in Alibaba comes with lead acid still, so it's not gone yet.
Yeah. I mean, I had my Model X battery changed late last year. I think it cost me like $450,
What?
something like that. 400
For the
400
12
bucks.
volt?
Yeah, the 12-volt. But the Model X also the time. Like I don't know if you saw how you get to the battery, but
It's a pain.
it's a pain in the ass. Like it wasn't designed very well. So hopefully they changed that with the new Model S and X. I mean the Model S wasn't that bad if I remember, but the Model X especially, like the way they put the battery, super hard to get to. Of course, the Tesla technician it's a little bit more used to it. They're gonna get to it quicker. But like if you and me wanted to change it, like it's gonna take an hour, which in most car it takes you like 2 minutes to just open the hood,
Yep.
plug it. Maybe you have like one or two screws to, unless if it was really clamped together, and then you replace it. But wasn't the case for the Model X, so maybe they changed that too. That would be great. But a lot of people were upgrading third party with lithium ion. Elon didn't say exactly if Tesla was making the new battery. If he didn't say it, I feel like probably they're not doing it. That would have been kind of an oversight for him not to say that. But yeah, if you want to go watch the full interview, I'd suggest it if you're like a very hardcore fan, but you probably already know most of the information.
You're going to want to skip like the first 10 minutes.
Oh yeah, the first 10 minutes is just a whole.
It's a ramble.
Yeah, it's all patting each other in the back for like 10, 15 minutes of just rambling. It's weird.
Yeah, there's a good 10 minutes in that hour of conversation. There's a good 10 minutes of information. So you just gotta
which is not bad for YouTube.
Right. Right. For those of us listening on YouTube.
Yeah, ourselves included. All right. The Model 3, like this, I think most people know that already, but just we're going to look at the number of the best-selling vehicle programs in the world, electric car programs in the world right now. Model 3 is still at the top, and it's not even close. I think it's worth looking into to look at maybe how it's going to change this year, because it's going to change for sure. And just to put in this perspective, like how different Tesla is when it comes to making volume electric vehicle programs. So the Model 3, and for Tesla, those are estimates, but I think they are pretty close, because that's coming from EV Sales Blogspot, which has been doing that for a while. And like, of course, Tesla, we don't have the registration number everywhere, but we have them most places. We have them in Europe, we have them in China, and we have them in like, I think, half the US states. So we have a pretty good idea. The rest is like a margin error, I would say. 365,000 for the Model 3. Closest one is the Wuling Hongyang Mini EV at 120,000. But that car, so that's
barely
a third.
Car.
Yeah, that's a third of Tesla's sale. And you need to take into account that, I mean, most people probably wouldn't even consider that car a car. It's like it's a mini vehicle. It's like, very small.
In the U.S., they call them like neighborhood electric vehicles or whatever.
To be fair, it's like in between the two. Like it's in between like a Fiat 500e and one of those neighborhood cars. Maybe like they
Okay.
in China they sort of created like a middle ground between the two. It's not as cheap as the neighborhood car, but it's also not as a car as a Fiat 500 is. I mean, Fiat 500e, it's a car. It's just a very small one. So and it's also, of course, a fraction of the price of the Model 3. So I would barely put in that in the top 10 here, just to be fair. The third one, that one is fair. The Renault Zoe at 100,000 units. So that's starting to be significant, and they jumped from the 8th place in 2019 to the 3rd place in 2020. So a big improvement with 13% market share. The Zoe has been a car that's been consistent. Renault has been updating it very consistently too, keeping with the pace, and it's still doing well in sales. It's still dominating in a lot of markets in Europe. So
Yeah, Micah took a drive of it, a review on Electrek.
you did too when we went to Paris.
Yeah,
years ago.
I drove it. It's a fantastic car. It kind of reminds me of the Chevy Bolt, which is like kind of frustrating because if GM had not sold Opel, they could be selling their Chevy Bolt all over Europe and probably not being able to meet demand.
Yeah, be competitive with the Zoe at the very least.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that one I think makes sense. That one could remain in a similar spot. I don't know what's going to happen with the Zoe this year. Model Y came in 4th place with almost 80,000 units, which is pretty good considering that was all in the US and Canada. And of course that was starting in March. The delivery started last year, so it's just three out of 4 quarters, and production was also ramping up. So 2020, the Model Y should go up the list. I would assume take the first place from the Model 3, really, especially with Shanghai having started production now, and deliveries are starting. It was started last month, and then Berlin and Austin will also turn on this year some Model Y, though that's going to be towards the second half of the year, and there's also a production ramp up there. So I don't know how much are they going to contribute this year, but between full ramp in Fremont this year and in Shanghai, I think 400,000 units is not impossible, and going to compete, of course, with Model 3. Then after that, you fall to the Kona EV, 65,000 units. That's decent. It's been there for a while. It's been doing well, especially in Europe. Also, some decent number in North America. But the Hyundai is, of course, moving a little bit away from the Kona, and now they're investing more in the Ioniq brand with the 5 coming and then the lineup coming up. So we're going to see how that play out. But it's not the kind of volume Tesla is talking about. Let's say 65,000 units. It's not quite there. Then the ID.3. The ID.3 is going to be interesting because it did 56,000 units last year, but that was just in 3 months. But also at the same time, they were accumulating a lot of inventory prior to that. So take it like you want on that front. But of course, it's going to be a ramp up this year. They just started production at a transparent factory. So that's they just added a ton of production volume for the ID.3. That's gonna ramp up into 2021. So I would assume that it's gonna be a 6-figure vehicle program this year, which would be literally just the 4th ever, basically, aside from like the Chinese, like with Zoe just eating 100,000 units. The Leaf already hit 100,000 units at some point. I think did it.
I mean, overall, but per year, I don't know.
I feel like it might have 1 year. Of course, now it's not the case at 55,000 units, but the Leaf has been going down for a while. Even though they've been updating it in more recent years,
a little bit.
Yeah, it's sort of lost its lead. Like it was an early market leader, but
well, Nissan will have the Aria this year, so that'll help them out a lot.
Yeah, and it's also in a segment that's a little bit more popular than the sedan. Audi e-tron doing pretty well at 50,000 units almost.
Yeah.
For a more expensive SUV. But I say more expensive, but in Europe they do have a less expensive version than we have here in the US. And I would like to know the split between those. Like they have the 50 instead of the 55. smaller battery pack. They're not selling it in the US because they think that people want more range in the US and that wouldn't sell well. But I don't know. I still think that if you can achieve a smaller price point, some
Yeah, the
people
price
would
point
be.
is important.
Yeah. Then you have the Bajon E Series. That's a Chinese electric vehicle, 47,000 units. GW Aura. I think that's GM back one to at 46,000 units. GM has a lot of different joint
GW is Great
ventures.
Wall, right?
Yeah. So the Bajon 2, I think that's GM back one of the other. But yeah, for the Aura R1, they went from 27 to number 10 too. So that's a big jump. The Bajon actually dropped, so that's interesting. But yeah, so looking in 2021, like I said, Model Y should take the first spot, followed by Model 3. And then other 100,000 units program, maybe the Zoe stay there. I would like to see the VW ID3 at six figures. Apparently, the ID4 could hit six figures this year.
Yeah, I think that's likely as well.
Yeah, that could be really interesting, and that's pre-production in the US. I think once VW start production of the ID4 in the US, this is going to be a big deal.
Yeah.
But that's next year, if I'm not mistaken, early next year, something like that. But yeah, so I see it changing a lot, and maybe like something like the Neo and Xpeng, we have been ripping up production a lot last year. Maybe in 2021 they would hit six figures too. That would be very interesting. So we're gonna start seeing more through high volume EV programs, which is something that we've been hoping for a long time. And I've been saying it. 2021 is gonna be the year that EV go mainstreams for real, like high volume programs, and I think we're gonna see that this year for sure. Next piece of news. The Supercharger factory just opened this week. Tesla China announced that they produced their first Supercharger out of the new factory. We reported on that late last year that there was a filing with the Shanghai government about Tesla investing like $10 million into a new factory to produce superchargers in China. Previously, we knew that Tesla was producing a supercharger out of the Gigafactory in New York, where they also produce the Tesla solar roof. And when they moved to the V3 supercharger, they started producing it there. But now they're going to produce some in China too. And the most interesting thing here is that they apparently are aiming for 10,000 supercharger stalls per year. So just to put that in perspective, yeah, quite a few, because to put that in perspective, Tesla just recently hit 20,000 supercharger stalls deployed. But that's over 8 years of the supercharger network existing, and now they plan to do 10,000 a year just out of that factory. I assume they still have production capacity in New York too. So I bet of course, that's going to be a ramp up too. I don't think they're going to produce that this year, but maybe next year or something. So we can expect an acceleration of the deployment of the Supercharger V3. Especially, I know Tesla sort of hinted that the slowdown first half of last year, 2019, of the supercharger deployment was due to production constraint on the V3 front. So that could fix that. But also know that like there are a lot of different factors that can slow down supercharger deployment. We talked about that before, but just deploying a single station will require a bunch of different permits, require to secure a contractor, require to secure a property, a contract with the property owner in terms of like most of the time Tesla's trying not to have to pay for the property because they bring business to whatever the owner of the whatever is the business that they are building the supercharger on the property of. So, I bet that the supercharger team right now, if they see like those 10,000 a year supercharger stall coming, they're like, oh, we need to ramp up our efficiency in terms of deploying new station and going through permit application and whatnot. All right, on the Model Y timeline in Europe, Tesla updated their website to now say that for new orders that are being placed, they are targeting mid 2021. If you look at the configurator here, that was updated this week. That was updated from just 2021. So it's not necessarily an acceleration of the timeline. It's just a more precise timeline. And Of course, that's dependent on Tesla starting production at Gigafactory Berlin. So that's where it's interesting. It's giving us a better idea of when Tesla hopes to start production there. Previously, some filings have indicated that it could be July 2021. So that would, I guess, work with mid 2021. But yeah, I think some hope here for deliveries this year for Model Y reservation holders and buyers in Europe. Oh, the recall Model S and X EAMC problem. So we've discussed that a bunch of times.
Yeah,
So
we've seen this coming from.
yeah, I'm gonna give a quick recap for those who don't remember. But Tesla's vehicle older than 2018, Model S Next older than 2018 with the old MCU. There was a problem with the memory inside the eAMC card. Had an issue where it kept getting overwritten, and over time it would create a problem with the MCU unit, the center touchscreen in the car, and it will literally shut down. But before that, you would have a bunch of responsiveness issues and whatnot. We've been talking about it for a while. Tesla has admitted that there's a defect and everything, but they've been resisting a recall on the vehicle because of that. They created a warranty program, an extended warranty program, which didn't work for all owners. Some owners tried to get the MCU replaced under the program and didn't work. So people said Tesla's not going far enough. And then also they only introduced that extended warranty program after NHTSA announced that they were looking into the issue. So it looked like it was more like appeasing the program. And then at the same time, Tesla has been pushing harder its MCU upgrade. So having people pay to upgrade their MCU, which of course not only fixes the memory issue, but also brings you a few other features and everything. But a lot of people saw it as Tesla just trying to have people pay for the upgrade so they don't have to replace the memory inside those MCUs through a recall, or at least have fewer units to deal with. But we've been reported that NHTSA was probably going to force a recall here. And Tesla has announced this week that they are doing a voluntary recall. But I mean, voluntary is... They got their arm twisted there a little bit, and also not a good look for Tesla. Like I saw a lot of owners just not happy about how Tesla treated the whole situation. It just didn't look like them. Like really, normally the company is quicker to do a recall when I mean, it's their fault. I mean, there's a defect in the car. Like you gotta fix it. But Tesla was very resistant on fixing it. This one. But now there's a recall. Tesla says don't reach out to them.
Don't call us, we'll call you.
Yeah, exactly. Because of course, I mean, there's a lot of cars involved here. It's over 100,000 units, so they need to have the memory cards to replace them and everything. And also, and that's where you see that this was a problem, right there. Tesla in the email that they sent to the owners that were affected, they said that if you already paid for a replacement, you are eligible to be reimbursed. So right there, you said if you're reimbursing people for changing the unit, it's because you shouldn't have charged them in the first place. It should have been done under warranty. It should have been done really under recall. The reason why it's a recall is because it does affect some safety features when it does shut down. So or features that could affect safety really. So it's thought that it was worth a recall, and now Tesla is agreeing voluntarily to do it.
Yeah, enough pressure involuntarily.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's. I mean, as you said, like it's not just the screen. Like it controls a lot of things that are important to the car, like heating and air conditioning. If you're in strange weather or turn signals, it's a pretty significant problem when when it goes out.
Yeah. GM unveiled their Super Bowl ad that's going to be debuting this weekend. Is No Way Norway the actual name of the ad, or is it's just one of the tagline in it that you use as the?
They're calling it No Way Norway.
Okay, they're calling it No Way Norway. Okay, so the premise of the ad really is that Will Ferrell is finding out for the first time that Norway is leading the U.S. in electric vehicle adoption and
Per capita,
yeah, and he doesn't like it because USA is first and whatnot. And he basically goes to war with Norway over it, and he enlists a few other celebrity friends. I don't know the other guys that much. Keenan Thompson from
Yeah,
Saturday Night
Saturday Night
Live
Live.
and Aquafina. I think they're comedians.
Aquafina is a rapper.
A rapper, okay.
So I hadn't really known of her. But I did
You
know
had to do
Keenan Thompson.
a quick Wikipedia when you wrote the article.
Exactly.
Oh, you did. You did put a link on it. Like, what did
It's
you?
our YouTube channel.
Okay. I had to check it out real quick. I like the aesthetic.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you can go. They already posted the hat on YouTube, so you can go check it out if you want to. If you don't want to wait for the Super Bowl, but I mean, it's pretty funny. It's a Will Ferrell esque in terms of humor. I think Will Ferrell is it's more comical, like on the longer format, and then when you get into the Will Ferrell mood, because I mean his kind of humor is very specific to him. So I don't know how much it plays into an ad format, but I do like the idea behind the ad, and I do like the timing with the Super Bowl too, with the kind of, I mean, I don't want to generalize too much because a lot of people watch the Super Bowl, but there's a patriotic feel to the Super Bowl. Like this is a big event in the U.S. and everything. So trying to hit those patriotic, nationalist patriotic strings during the Super Bowl by making like Norway the enemy.
Right.
Of course, like just comedically, when no one is going to war against Norway. But
yeah, I hadn't thought about that. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think that works. And if only it just, I mean, I don't think they didn't say in the ad, if I remember correctly, the actual adoption rate of EVs in Norway. No, I wish they would. I don't know if it's going to be part of a bigger campaign and they're going to share that, because I feel like that's very powerful alone. If most people don't know, I think that Norway, like the majority of cars in Norway that are new cars that are being sold right now are all electric. I mean, that's very powerful when you compare to the US, which is
I agree.
Like
I almost wonder if GM didn't want to say that. Like, know, the intellectually curious among the Super Bowl watchers will go look it up. But I feel like most of the people there are just going to be like, "What, Norway? All right, they've got a lot of EVs."
Yeah. Yeah, I think they focus more on the comedic aspect than actual like information, which is on par for Super Bowl ads anyway. So I'm gonna blame GM on that here. But I wish that information would have been shared, because I think a lot of people would be, what?
How can they do that?
So, because if that's coming for Norway, it's coming for us too. So then if more people than not are buying electric cars, it's a big deal.
I kind of feel like GM's got some more stuff coming. This kind of feels like it's not finished. I wonder if they're gonna like pre-announce the Bolt 2021 Bolt and EUV.
Yeah, the timing is pretty close, huh?
Yeah, it's a little bit more than a week ahead or whatever. Also, like GM doesn't really sell any car like any EVs right now, so they don't want to just be like, hey, this is a really nice EV. They can't do that because all their good EVs are coming in a year.
I mean, they're taking reservation for the Hummer, so the Hummer is featured
and the Lyriq
there
as well.
They're taking reservation for the Lyriq?
Not yet, but I think that's.
But it's the closest one coming, at least, so it makes sense to feature it in there. But yeah, you're right. I think it feels like it's more coming, because you cannot like set it up like that, like, oh, we're going to war against Norway, and then the ad end with just him arriving in Sweden, I think, or something like that, like, as he screwed up. So I feel like there should be some follow up to that. And I mean, whenever people want to spend some ad money on promoting electric vehicles, I'm all on board. Like, even if the execution is not exactly like I would want it to be, sometimes I think that might be the case. But at least their heart is the right place to some degree here, because we know that GM also done a lot of things anti-EV. So this one is clearly pro-EV. So on board with that. The VW ID6. So we're already jumping from ID4 to ID6. This one is the rooms. If you remember the ID rooms concept from a few years ago.
It's amazing how they turn all these amazing concepts into like a very generic VW looking car every time.
Oh, sad. It's
It's
not. It's not that bad.
it's not bad. It's a very
Yeah.
like VW makes very good looking cars, but they're just VW cars. They're
Yeah.
not. I mean, if you
I
look
mean, the
at the
concept wasn't that well. The concept, the ID rooms concept, wasn't that crazy either. Take away the sliding doors, like it was like suicide sliding doors, something like that. Like they both open a sliding door front and back. But th- well, also the interior. But the interior, they always go crazy on concepts. So you like it? You wish it would be a little bit more adventurous, a little bit more futuristic, or
yeah, more like the concept.
yeah. A lot of people don't like the front end, the
Well, that's a
hair
grill.
intake or fake hair intake or whatever that thing is here right there. It looked oversized for. I mean, it is a big SUV, by the way. It's a full size SUV, but
Yeah, there'll be a third row in that too, right?
probably as
As
an
an option.
option.
Yeah,
But yeah, because it looks quite big, really. To me, it looks good. I mean, I especially like those color combos here, and I always like when they have this back here that splits the roof like that. I really like that. But yeah, I agree. The front end, there's something looks just a little bit off for some reason. But it does look a lot like at least the top half. They make it look a lot like the other MEB based electric vehicles on the Volkswagens lineup. Like
yeah. It's weird that like auto designers are just not able to give up the grill. Like it just they can't do it. They have to have a grill on there. It's even Tesla had that fake plastic one for a while.
mhm.
It's just they can't do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think Tesla nailed it with the Model 3 and Model Y, but
Yeah,
that also got a lot of friction. If you remember at first, like people were making a lot of jokes about the front end of the Model 3 and eventually the Model Y. I think by the time the Model Y came out, people were like, they were
pretty
fine
used to
doing
it.
that. But at first, I remember that was very polarizing. Yeah, that car should be coming, should be unveiled pretty soon. That was a leak to China. China, like they submitted the for production with the government because like of course like many electric vehicles these days, Volkswagen is starting production first in China and then it starts in Germany and then eventually in the US. But that car should be one of the MEV that does make it to the US relatively soon. I think maybe next year. All right, let's jump into the Mach-E review. You had a few interesting quotes in there, like the Mach-E. Well, the headline itself is the most important Mustang in 56 years.
I mean, really, it's probably more important than the other Mustang, the
Yeah.
the original. Just because it's Ford's first foray into electric vehicles, we know that electric vehicles are going to be everything in a very short amount of time. So Ford needs to get there, and this is their first jump there. So, oh, it looks like we put a GT on the front of the
Yeah.
play card there. Might have to update that. Anyway, so like as you know, you drove the Mach-E. It's a great car. It's very similar to the Model Y in size. The big difference is the larger front end of it, and obviously it's a Ford inside, so it's the technology stack's a little bit different. I actually really like CarPlay and Android Auto. I mean, it's for me like I appreciate all that Tesla's done in UI design. It's fantastic, but like I just don't think that Tesla is going to outdesign a UI of Apple or even Google. In terms of getting text messages, replying to text messages, navigation. I use CarPlay usually, and then Google Maps on it. So there's a lot of things about the Mach-E that are better than a Model Y. There's a lot of things about the Model Y that are better than the Mach-E. Well, that's a weird picture, but
Yeah, they are distorted for some reason. But here, but beyond the distortion, and Jamie pointed that out to me, like that screen is crazy bright right now for
yes.
at
So
night.
we figured out later on that the there's night mode or auto, and we had it on, or whoever had it before me had it on
Manual,
on manual to light mode. So
bunch of animals.
yeah, exactly. And I was sitting in the car talking to my wife. I was like, "This can't be right. This can't be right."
It is
So,
pretty bright.
and
I
it's
mean,
not.
this is the source of light on your face, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. And I was like, "Well, we don't really want to change this while we're driving." And then,
Yeah.
like a couple minutes into it, I was like, "We better figure this one out."
Yeah.
So yeah, that was an easy fix, and the dark mode is fine. The screen has that little volume button. I think it's great, but it's not like, frankly, I use the volume on the steering wheel. I think most people do that, and that works fine as well. The sound speaker system, I didn't talk about it too much in the review, but the speakers are phenomenal. The wind noise inside, I think, is a little bit quieter than the Model Y. I have an early Model Y, though. I've heard that the Model Y has improved wind noise wise. So, I'm sure we could get a decibel meter and drive both at 65 and figure out which one's better. The frunk is one part of it, the thing that, like, yay for them for making a frunk. But like, you can only open the frunk from the hood lever, by your left foot when you're driving. You can't do it from the app. You can't do it from the fob. Ford has said that they're going to upgrade over the air and allow you to do it from the app, which that would be great. But like, clearly the engineers weren't going shopping. Like, you need to do that. The other thing is they put this like separator thing in there, and you have to take it out with like a screwdriver set or a socket set. I didn't even I just tried it once to pull it out, and it wouldn't pull out. So I was like, this is useless now. So we tried putting some food in there. Like, we had to take it out of the bag and put it in each compartment. And
They're not big enough to just get like a grocery bag, like a.
Oh, it's big enough. The whole thing is way
No,
big
I
enough.
mean individually, all three trays are not.
Yeah,
No,
they're
okay.
not. Which is, it's like a head scratcher. So there's
Well, even like in my Teslas, though, even though I can have easy access to open them, like frunks are always last resort for me. Like, if
really?
else is full, yeah.
we like it.
Am I alone in that?
Probably
No, that's
not.
not the
I mean,
comment section. If you use your frunk first or as a last thing, if everything else is full.
so what we like about the frunk is that, especially in winter when we're driving to Vermont, we take up a lot of food with us because we're not allowed to leave our house while we're up there. And if we put the food inside, all the stuff melts and rots. But if we put it in the frunk, it stays at a cold temperature. So we have to leave the stuff in the front.
Have you ever heard of something called a cooler?
Yes, we have a cooler, but it's too hard. Plus, we got the dog.
Yeah. No, because me, just opening it, okay, that's easy through the touch screen or the app or whatever you want to use. But then the way you close it, like you have to close it. You have to put pressure with both hands on the side of the front, and especially if you drive it here in the winter, so now it's dirty as hell. So like you dirty your gloves or whatever. So I prefer just doing the trunk thing, but
yeah,
each their own, I guess.
Yeah, so overall, it's like, and we talked about this prior, like, it's a fantastic car for people like us who are kind of very techy and forward thinking. The Mach-E would be an amazing car and probably a no-brainer, except there's a Model Y out there, and the Model Y has like all this cool technology. You can play video games on it. It's got autopilot coming up. So that kind of kills it, and it's kind of too bad for Ford that they decided to kind of go after like the most popular and exciting car out there. So a lot of people are going to go with Tesla. On the other hand, like, if Tesla's a little bit too crazy for you or too weird for you, and you're a Ford driver, or, you're not used to Tesla's kind of big changes, the Mustang Mach-E is a good like middle ground. Like, you still have, for instance, windshield wiper on the stock. You still have, a volume knob on the even though it's on a big screen. So you still have like a start button and a key fob and all that stuff. So it's like, if Tesla's taking two big steps forward, the Mustang Mach-E is like one big step forward. And for a lot of people, I think, the Tesla is too much. It's a too big of a step. So I think a Mach-E is going to be a good car for a lot of people.
Yeah, I think that's a good assessment. Yeah, because for us ourselves, we're like, all right, we feel it's a step back, but for a lot of people, it's gonna feel like a step forward. And where it counts, they did it right. Like where like the big, some of the most important part of it, like especially when it comes, like we've been saying, it's not very that efficient and everything, but it holds up at least in terms of projection of range.
Oh yeah,
Which a lot of people, yeah, a lot of people they don't think about that. They just look at the range itself. But I mean, my Model 3 has a lot of range, like over 400 kilometers. But I just went to Mont Tremblant with it and back, and I mean, minus 20 and some elevation, and forget the range estimate that he gave me. I have to assume like 2 times that, really. The Ford, at least, it's going to stick to that range thanks to that big buffer and whatnot. But that's the biggest. I think that's bigger than the longer range in terms of a deterrent for range anxiety. It's just if you see the range that they show you, that's the actual range. That makes a big difference.
Yeah, and an interesting comparison. We drive up the Model Y to Vermont almost every weekend, and as a percentage of the full battery, we ended up very close with the Mustang as we would have with the Model Y. So,
despite officially having 20% more range than the Model Y?
Maybe not quite 20, but it's 270 for the Mustang that I was in, the first edition, and I think it's 3 something for the Model Y. Mm-hmm. So it's a significant difference in the fact that they were pretty close. Means that Ford's being a little pessimistic, Tesla's being a little optimistic, and it's on the other hand, the Ford battery is much bigger than the Tesla battery in terms of kilowatt hours. So Tesla's still doing a lot more with those same kilowatt hours.
Yeah. All right. That was pretty much it for the news items we wanted to discuss this week. But we can, speaking of Ford, we can mention real quick that they announced this week that they are almost doubling their investment in electric vehicles through the next 5 years. But I was kind of underwhelmed in the announcement because you say that, okay, you're going to spend a ton of money, but they didn't announce anything new with it. What are you going to do with that money?
I want to see some accelerated timelines. I want to see some the Ford Bronco EV. Yeah. Where's that thing?
Yeah, tell me that. Tell me. All right, we are planning to deploy a capacity to produce 200,000 Ford F-150 electric by 2023. That would get me excited.
Right.
But they just said we're gonna spend more money. Okay. Tell me you're gonna build a battery factory, because to build a 700,000 Ford F-150 electric per year, you're gonna need a lot of batteries that don't exist today. And Ford has been reticent to get too deep into the battery cell production. They're not alone. A lot of other automakers, they're okay with relying with suppliers, and suppliers are increasing their production capacity as fast as they can. Big companies like LG and Panasonic and CATL and all those guys.
Yeah, it kind of feels like there's going to be a squeeze with the battery. If you don't have your own, it's kind of like the vaccine in the U.S. If you don't have your own manufacturer of vaccines, you're going to the back of the line.
Yeah. Well, not in the U.S., but per country. Yeah, those that don't have their own production are screwed. Yeah, because GM has been doing it now. I bet that Ford looks more at GM as a competitor than they look at Tesla, though that is changing, especially since the valuation thing happened and everything. Now everyone looks up to Tesla, but closer in structural company, like the segments they address and pickup trucks and whatnot, GM is a bigger deal to them. And GM they went into battery cells with the LG deal, with the Ultium joint venture they have with them. And then you could look at other companies that I would characterize as leaders in electric vehicles, like Volkswagen, leaders for legacy automakers at least. And they are investing heavily in their own production of battery cell, or at least joint venture production of battery cell with Nordvolt and QuantumScape. So you look at and of course Tesla is doing it too. So this looks to me like the winning strategy. And just relying on suppliers for something that it's clearly already a bottleneck and looks like it's only going to get worse, especially if there's this massive shift in consumer thinking in terms of electric vehicles that we see happening in the next few years. It's going to get worse. So if you have the more control you're gonna have over it, the best. And right now, I don't think Ford's gonna have much control over it. So if some of those, it sounds like over 10 billion more that they're gonna spend over 5 years, over 2025. 2025 is not that far.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
A lot of money over a relatively short period of time. So if they can put 5 billion of that 10 billion towards just battery securing, and you have to look at it the broader way too. You cannot just look at we're gonna build battery cells. That's nice. I mean, just having the machinery, the production capacity to build cells to make cathode and anode and electrolytes and everything. That's great. But you have to go all the way to the raw materials too. So you're gonna have to make deals with mining companies, and you're gonna have to go get risky and try to found some junior mining companies to get new production capacity and everything. Just like Tesla, what Tesla is doing with PMO, Lithium, and all those companies, you have to get a little bit more risky. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, put them in the comments right now. We're gonna try to get to them real quick before the end of the show because we're done with the news items for now.
All right, so Sean Goggin basically says that the Model Y long-range rear-wheel drive was canceled, and the Tesla reps were asking if order holders would like to convert to standard range or all-wheel drive, and that they could keep their FSD price of when they ordered. There are no confirmations on forums or Twitter that I can tell. Have you heard anything about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was known for a while now that Tesla is not going with the rear-wheel drive long-range.
Was that is that the thing that Elon said, or?
Well, no, but he was talking about the standard range thing, and then he walked back on that. We reported on that on a while back, but just like the Model 3, when Tesla canceled the Model 3 plans for the long range rear wheel drive, if you look, normally the Teslas follow closely Model Y and Model 3 in terms of powertrain options, and of course, it's not exactly the same, but I think if you look under the hood, it's probably the same. So yeah, you have to deal with some of that. I mean, I know it's a bummer. Like, you try to push you a different car and everything, but if you're a Tesla customer, you have to live with a lot of those small changes. Like that.
Yeah, we're no strangers to that. And frankly, like Tesla has having no problems getting rid of Model Y, so they're not.
Yeah.
They're not in a hurry.
I mean, I think that what's even worse is what happened with the Model S. Like, Tesla kept taking new orders for Model S $10,000 cheaper than when they knew they was going to sell the new Model S. And then when that happened, they're like, deal with it. Either you pay $10,000, but we're not going to build the car that you ordered a month ago. Even that makes no sense to me. But
yeah, I wonder if they could find stuff like an inventory of the remaining Model S's and X's.
Yeah, there's not that much though.
Yeah. Because they asked their.
I mean, to be fair, they did offer $2,000 price adjustment on that, so it's not too bad because you are getting a better car. But if you're someone who was okay with the old version, you just wanted the old version at that price, then why did Tesla take your order? It makes no sense to me. But I think Tesla just wanted to just keep taking orders during that period that they were switching from. But I don't know.
All right, Jameson Murphy asked, would Tesla ever make a smart e-bike that would go by itself to the destination?
Do we need that?
I don't know.
E-bikes are so much fun. I mean, I like driving cars too, but I mean, most of the time I would be self-driven if that was a possibility. It was safe and everything. If I'm on a bike, though, I want to be riding a bike. And e-bikes are so much fun. You feel like Superman on them. If you have a good electric assist mode on it, and so. But to your point of Tesla making an e-bike, though, Elon did hint to that at some point when someone brought up, are you gonna ever make a motorcycle? And then he said, no, we're not gonna make one because I almost killed myself on one. I'm like, all right,
that's a good reason.
Yeah, that's a good reason, I guess. But then
I think it was a Kara Swisher interview.
Was it? Or I thought it was earnings, and then he was like, but an e-bike, maybe that would.
Yeah, I remember that part. I just don't remember the context. All right, next question. So this guy, Roshan Patel, likes the Ducati Zero Electric Superbike. Any suggestions?
That's more for a Micah question. Sounds like
Yeah, I
if
don't even
only
know.
Micah had a podcast where you could ask that question.
Yeah, well, we'll see about that.
Yeah.
All right. We got some Spanish language. We're not great with the Spanish, so if you could
Yeah.
convert to English, we'll
Or
appreciate
French.
that. Or French. I'm glad Tesla is recalling the MCU, but in spite of months of degraded performance, they told me it was working fine. It seems like they will only replace catastrophic failures.
Yeah, that was a problem with a lot of people. Like, you come up to Tesla and like, this is not working, and they're like, sure, it's working. Like,
Right.
if it's not failing, like in front of them, and of course, like because of the nature of the issue with the memory getting overwritten all the time, sometimes it would be okay, and then it would fade out, and then it would crash, and then you go back, and then it would be okay. Like, and so if you don't give it to Tesla while it's crashed or like working very poorly, good luck on getting a warranty change.
And I mean, for instance, mine was totally black. Like,
Yeah.
and then I called them and I was like, "Hey, I can't drive this car," and they're like, "Well, we can get you in about 3 weeks." And I was like,
Yeah.
I'm going to return it by then,
Yeah.
or the lease is over at that point. And it's not. I mean, like we said, it's not just the screen. Like, it's the turn signals, the air conditioning, the heating. Like, it's a pretty big problem. So it'd be nice if Tesla kind of got on that one. Kay says, thoughts on Tesla Solar. How bad is the customer experience?
I've heard good and bad.
Yeah, I mean, I think Tesla is trying to make it as bare bones as possible to get the cost down. So you don't like get somebody to talk to. Like if you go to the neighborhood local installer, they're kind of talk you through it. They'll give you some options, bespoke. Tesla's like, you're buying a product. We're going to slap it on your roof, connect it to your thing, and we're out. So some people don't like that. Some people will like the savings that has.
Yeah, it's a lot similar to Tesla's service for cars to trying everything to go through the app and everything. So minimum communication, person to person. But yeah, if it works, it works. Though I mean, that's the goal of solar. You should just slap it on your roof and then it works, and you don't have to talk to anyone until warranty is up in 25 years.
All right, Brian Martin, comment one moment GM and Will Ferrell using the word crush in their big EV ad. Get it? Crushed EV1. All right, somebody's...
Well, that connected some dots that were pretty far there. I didn't think of that at all. I mean, no one was more upset than me about the EV1, but that was 20 years ago now. Let's move on.
A little bit time to move on. All right.
I think most people that were at GM back then, they're not anymore. So
they're not even alive. No.
maybe
Not long ago. All right. Nick Thomas says lead acid is still there just due to the off-the-shelf availability. All right.
Fair point.
But let's get out of there.
Yeah.
All right. Elon also wants to get away from 12 volts and go to 48 volts. Yeah, we talked about that. I think one of the things about 48 volts, I don't know if we discussed it too much, is you can make the wires a lot thinner. And so that's a lot less weight and a lot less cost.
Yeah.
So that would be nice. But
yeah, because people don't know, but there are miles of wires in those vehicles that are linked to the 12-volt system.
Yeah.
So I mean, it makes a big difference.
Yeah, and if you can make it 400 volts, the same as the other thing, that would be even smaller. Yeah. All right. Engineer, take time to fix the problem that are to come. We all have to try to make things better. I'm personally, all right, working on an energy project. All right. All right, so let's be clear about lithium ion costs. Nobody is getting $100 per kilowatt hour. It's closer to $1,000 per kilowatt hour at small scale. Lead acid for a golf cart at Walmart is actually around $100 per kilowatt hour.
Yeah, so like we said, the cost might be part of it, but I mean, when you say small scale, I mean the battery itself, the battery pack per are smaller, but I mean there's still a high volume production of 12-volt battery packs. So I don't know.
And what are you getting? Those kilowatt hours, you can't use like a large portion of them, and it's not going to last as long, and it's not going to have as much output as a lithium battery. So you get a lot of advantages for saving the money, and I don't think $1,000 per kilowatt hour is realistic. It's probably closer to 300 or 400. All right. Rich Tier says, question about MCU recall. Does the recall just replace the 8 gigabyte flash memory chip with a 64 gigabyte one? So MCU 1, presumably one could pay to upgrade to MCU 2, which includes the 64 gigabyte chip.
I don't know the capacity of the new memory that they replaced, but I know a lot of people are assuming that they replaced the old MCU, and that's not true. Of course, it's just a memory. So you're not getting a free upgrade to the MCU. You're just getting a memory that works. so that's why like it's not exactly the same with when Tesla was just pushing the MCU upgrade. You do get more out of that. But the problem is that some people were being pushed to the MCU upgrade because their first MCU didn't work well, and not because they wanted more features out of it. So that was the constraint there.
All right, there's some conversation around the cost of lead acid. Some rabbit holes have been breached. I guess we're looking at somewhere between 200 and 800.
Yeah, that's still important, that conversation here.
All right. Pablo Hap says, with Periscope shutting down soon, where will you go? Well, we're on YouTube and Facebook, and theoretically at some point we'll be on LinkedIn. So
we're everywhere else already. So I'm not getting too sad about Periscope going away.
Yeah.
I didn't even know we were on Periscope. I thought we were just on Twitter.
Well, yeah, that's the platform Twitter uses, I guess.
But if Periscope is going away, Twitter is still going to work on Twitter, right? We're still going to be on Twitter, I think, right? No?
I mean,
because if you go on a Twitter page right now, I think you see we're live right from our Twitter page, I think. No?
Yeah, but that's Periscope, I think.
Oh, yeah.
All right, I don't know. Maybe Twitter will.
Can we just fold the Periscope technology into Twitter and no one's going to see the difference?
All right, let's get to some more questions here. So this was an important clarification. Wuling and Bojan are GM, not Great Wall. So
the other one, the Aura, is Great Wall, which is not linked to GM. Wuling and Wuhan are the joint venture that GM is part of.
GM is still making a lot of EVs in China.
Yeah, they have a lot of joint ventures in China. So they not necessarily have their brand name on it, but they have a few with their brand name on it. Like they have a Buick in China. It's electric.
All right, we're still talking about kilowatt hours and lead acid. That went pretty crazy. 10,000 superchargers per year. Is that globally or China only? I think that's going to be manufactured there, so it could go to places outside of China.
I would assume that it would go to places outside of China because it had 10,000 superchargers in China per year. You're going to cover the whole country pretty quick. I mean, it's a big country, but still 10,000 superchargers.
Yeah, and maybe they take some of the heat off of the New York facility by sending the ones to Europe and wherever.
I mean, it's not the same charger connector, but I'm sure they can make batches like they do at Fremont for everything else.
All right, Amuki EX says, I'm looking forward to what happens to lithium-ion pricing globally once we have like an honest competitor or two to Tesla, someone aiming to make hundreds of thousands of EVs yearly.
Yeah. Well, they already have that. That's the whole, like Nordvolt, QuantumScape, and everything. It's going to be much more competitions now soon enough with batteries. Yeah.
All right, so another important clarification, Aquafina is an actress. First, I guess, and then her.
We stand corrected.
Her hip hop.
Maybe she prefer actor. And a lot of
she's an actor.
Actress prefer actor.
Right, but she does have some songs that she put out, so I think maybe we can agree to disagree or agree that she's both. All right, Pablo Collins says the ID3 has no grille. That's important to note because we were giving VW some
we're giving some black on the ID6, but it still does have a framing of the logo on it, doesn't it? It has like a line over between the headlights. Well, I guess that's that. Well, I like it. I like that.
I like the ID3. I honestly like. I'm obviously a Bolt fan, Chevy Bolt fan. If the ID3 was available in the U.S., I would probably buy one. Like I think that's going to be a good car.
You know what I would like to see?
What's that? GTI?
Yeah, that could be nice, but even a little bit nicer than that, I want to see Audi take the ID3 and do the Audi version of the ID3.
Oh yeah, so speaking of that, we're going to see the GT here pretty soon, right?
Yeah, it's the 8th.
Yeah. It's the 8th. Is it over the weekend or is it Monday?
8th. No, I think it's Monday or Tuesday. It's Tuesday. It's Tuesday that then. I've seen it.
Yeah.
I've heard there are some leaks online. Cannot post any of that because I'm under
embargo.
under
But
embargo, but you can probably find it if you look.
this,
I have nothing to do with those leaks.
yeah, it's a
Uh,
certain GermanCarForum.com that you'll find it at. All right. Moving on, Leslie Faulkner says frunks are bad, waste of space. Better to move the HVAC to that area and open up the cabin space.
well, but then people are used to the way you stand in front in the car, your sitting position as a driver. If you bring that too much forward, that's going to be weird.
Yeah, and you need the dashboard stuff to be kind
Yeah,
of in front of you.
yeah.
So I don't necessarily agree. All right. Is the Mach-E being delivered to customers? Yes, it is.
Yes, yes, yes. I think they
And
produced like 10,000 last month or something like that.
yeah, and there was a hiccup. I think there's like a 10-day delay or something.
Yeah, there were some delays. Yeah.
All right, Nissan Aria does not have a frunk, made cabin larger using frunk space for components. Oh, maybe we have a Nissan designer in the room. Prime Minister of Norway responded to the GM ad. We did see somebody from the. I mean, it's tongue in cheek. I'm sure the Norwegians aren't taking it. They're not
launch
ready.
the nuke. Send
Yeah.
the nuke. Will Ferrell declared war.
They'll send over some smoked fish. Seth, do your wife and kids prefer passenger ride in the Model Y or the Mach-E? That's a good question. My kids said that they enjoyed sitting in the back of the Mach-E better, but then I said, but there's no video games in this one, and they were like, forget about it. Like, this is get this garbage out of here. If you have kids, they're going to prefer playing video games to anything really. They would sit on like 2x4s probably, and if there's video games. My wife said she could take either one. She liked both. She was sitting in the front seat. She liked the better viewing angles of the Model Y, but she said the seat of the Mach-E was a little bit softer. So that's the Weintraub family take. Green Gold says, what do you think of Tesla's China LFP battery range issues?
Yeah, I've been looking into that. I haven't have it's too anecdotal for the moment. I would like to have a little bit more data, which we might get in the next few weeks or months. But I think what Green Gold is referring to right now is a lot of our customers in Europe that are getting the LFP standard range plus Model 3 from China are saying that the winter performance of the battery is not great. Again, we need more data with that because you could argue that lithium ion, the NCA, no, I got confused now. It's NCA or what's the other one?
Lithium ion?
No, but the specific chemistry. I mean, LFP is still lithium ion, right? But the normal one, the NCA, or I'm blanking on the other one. It also loses a lot of capacity in the winter. So maybe they're just new to electric vehicles, and they are experiencing this similar capacity loss, and they are attributing it to the LFP. But maybe not. I'm just saying. So I would like to see a little bit more data on that before saying that it is a real problem.
Yeah. All right. Moving on, Coach DA asks, do you think the EV community needs to come up with our own range estimate for comparisons? The EPA estimate works fine for ICE cars, but is misleading when EVs are rated like 70 miles per hour, worst case. Yeah, it's hard to do that. I think there's a company that our partners Fully Charged use in the UK because they're really far off with the WLTP. Yeah. So...
I mean, we've been talking about that for a while at Electrek. Like we should have more standards to compare EVs with in terms of efficiency and everything. But it would be a very resource demanding project to do. But long term it would be very interesting. Like if Electrek ever gets like its own like test track or whatever, and we can do some more extensive testing when we do our reviews, we would certainly incorporate efficiency into it, and therefore range performance through efficiency testing.
Yeah, we should do it like the Vermont drive. We'll just have that be the standard by which all EVs are measured.
Just you need like to take weather into account and everything.
Right. All right. So moving on, Brian Martin question, comment, one moment GM. Oh, that guy, same thing. All right. Any recent chatter on a Tesla CCS1 adapter? I think we have
That's
that.
technology of the future right there. I mean, we've seen this one company do a third party one now that they're selling, but it's $1,000. I mean, I don't think it makes any sense.
Also, I think it's got some issues.
Yeah. No, there's no. Not, I mean, I assume he's talking about North American market here. Nope, there's nothing for the Tesla proprietary connector to CCS1 yet.
All right. I've never hear anybody talk about depreciation of Tesla versus others. Looks like GM electric hybrid vehicles depreciate much faster.
We report on that a bunch of times. There's a lot of data on that, and yeah, the Model S and Model S and X, and especially the Model 3, they retain the value extremely well. Of course, it might change in the future, so this is not an indication of future value. But so far, if you compare it to, talking about GM, so probably the Bolt did lose a ton of value for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's just another thing to consider is because of the big incentives EVs get, sometimes up to $10,000. You've basically lost $10,000 the second you drive off the lot in value because the cost of
Resale
replacing
value.
the resale value. So that's something to consider for EVs versus like ICE cars. Elon talked in detail about the voltage issues on Monroe Live. I think he's talking about 12 volt versus 48 volt.
Yeah. I mean, he acknowledged that it's kind of a relic of the past, and they're just dealing with it. But it would be too much right now for Tesla to overtake a full overhaul of the 12 volt architecture to 48. But he did hint that it's going to come at some point.
Yeah, 48 volts is for the UI says 48 volts is for the electronics sensors. He used power over Ethernet as an example. And all those like Cisco phones and stuff use power over Ethernet. Pretty common. All right, so we have a paid comment, and so we're gonna click on this link. Can you click on that, Fred?
I clicked on it. I just saw it. It's the Prime Minister eating a pizza. Did Will Ferrell send a pizza to? Oh yeah. He did say that he gonna send fake. He did a prank call during the ad to send pizzas to Norway, to the entire country on Norway. So the link that Lars is sending us is the Prime Minister of Norway eating a pizza and thanking Will Ferrell for sending the pizza. But she says, but really anchovies, because he added anchovies to the pizza in the call, and she wants pineapple instead.
That's funny. Good. We saw another Norwegian, I think EV minister, which is kind of crazy that they even have one of those. But
no, I think it's the Norwegian EV Association. It's more like
association. Okay,
yeah, it's not government related. I don't think. But yeah, she had very good comment about it, like tongue in cheek too. Yeah.
All right. Well,
I think so.
Thank you for the tip, Lars.
Yeah.
Andrew Latham, do we know if the Fremont production has officially started building the Model S, the new Model S?
I think yes, but it's release candidates right now. They're not delivering them just yet. They're just tuning in production, trying to reach their quality standard, because Tesla has some of those, and then deliver.
Radical Rick says, I don't think anyone will be able to come close to producing as many EVs as Tesla because of the battery material availability like iron and cobalt. What is your thought?
I mean, that's fair to a degree. Like, if you look at who is looking the deepest into this right now, and I would have to say Tesla. So yes, it's just like you can throw a lot of money at a lot of problems that's going to fix them. But in this case here, there's so much layers to this, like all the way to the supply chains from actual mining to processing the ore to making them into cathode and anode and electrolytes, and actually building the battery cells. So if you look at, if you want to find the automakers that are going to have the fewer issues possible, the least issues with in terms of battery supply, you have to look at the automakers that are looking at each step of that problem. And right now, yes, I would agree that Tesla is the one doing that. But we've heard good things from Volkswagen too. We are. I haven't heard that much about GM beyond their Ultium thing. Like, are they looking at raw material supply? And I don't know.
Kind
Maybe
of seems out of scope for them. They can't
yeah.
even do their own chargers. All right. Leslie Faulkner says Global News in Canada ran a story about NHTSA, talking about the tech company's game-changing motor controller for electric cars that gives 30% improvement. Great story to look up. We'll have to do that. Is there going to be a Tesla box truck or cab chassis?
I haven't heard anything on that front.
Yeah, it seems kind of not really in Tesla's wheelhouse, so to speak.
Yeah, there's other companies doing that. Leon Electric, which I invested in, I think set to. They do those box trucks, so they're pretty good. So
yeah, that's a good company to look up. Jason Cruikshank is Cruikshank is the e-golf dead. VW Canada still listed online, but has production ended. I think it's over.
Yeah, production has ended. Yeah, I think production of the Golf period has ended for the U.S. market. I think.
Yeah.
Not even the electric one, but yeah, the electric one they stopped it and they replaced it last month with the VW ID3.
Yeah, are ID3s coming to Canada?
No, the product where they were producing the e-Golf that was coming to Canada, now they're producing the ID3.
But do you know if the ID3 is coming to Canada, or they just said no for North America?
If it's not coming to the US, I don't think it's coming to Canada. Never heard anything about it.
You guys got the Kia Soul, right?
Yeah.
All right. We're getting close to the end here. Model 3 and ID3 are the same price. I would stick with Tesla. Okay. I don't think they are the same price.
Yeah, I think the base version of the ID3 is a little bit cheaper than the Tesla.
Always thanks for watching the show. Thanks, Green Gold. What's the status of the Mercedes EQC going on sale in the U.S.? Personally, I think it's the best looking electric compact SUV.
I liked it a lot, the EQC. I tested it 2 years ago in Norway. Liked it a lot. A very close competitor, I think, to the Audi e-tron. But they delayed the launch in the US. They don't see it as a priority market. Of course, they want to sell it more in Europe, where they have to sell more electric cars. Last we heard, it's supposed to come this year. I haven't heard any update on that front, though. I wouldn't be shocked if it's delayed again, though.
Stefan Schlellblugger says if Tesla is cell constrained, why wouldn't they get started on a product that is decoupled from batteries, aka residential HVAC systems?
I mean, it's just not like a big part of the mission right now. Like, it doesn't contribute much to the mission.
Yeah, it's also where Tesla has a big advantage, price-wise.
Yeah.
I'll never forget what VW did, not only by lying, cheating, but also running tests on monkeys, trying to claim exhaust gases from their diesel engines were clean and safe. VW can go under for all I care. All right, that's George Cintron.
I never heard about the monkey thing.
Yeah, that sounded a little conspiracy theorist. All right, Boating Dave with our last question. What did you guys think of the interview of Elon by Sandy Monroe? Thought it was cool listening to two engineers. We talked about that a little bit earlier in the show. There was a lot of jibber jabber at the beginning, congratulating each other, to put it nicely.
I mean, it's a lot like that with podcast style. Like, it's very conversational. I mean, you could say the same thing about our podcast to a degree too. We go on rambles sometimes, so it's not like a big thing. It's just that I feel like if I had an opportunity to interview Elon, I would have like more questions ready. I would try to extract as much information from the man as I could. But that's just like I'm not Sandy Monroe, was just an engineer, was like kind of nerding out, but. I mean, he's not just an engineer; he's a communicator, I guess. Now he's with his YouTube channel and whatnot. I'm more of a reporter, and I'm like, I have Elon in front of me. Like, just get the information out of him as much as I can. That's just me.
Get out of his way. Just let him talk.
Yeah, that too. Like, if you look at Elon interview, you want to hear Elon talk, and I think it was probably like what 50-50 Sandy and Elon.
No, it was
not even anything.
I would say 70 Sandy.
Oh yeah, that much. I don't know.
All right. Anyway,
so no hate for Sandy.
Sandy, that was a great get, and we enjoyed that one.
Yeah. All right. Thanks everyone for listening. Thanks everyone for watching on YouTube and Periscope and Facebook and wherever you're watching right now. You can give us a like, That's always helpful. Or subscribe to see when we're going to be up next time. And on your podcast app, you can subscribe to, and you're going to download automatically our next episode when it comes out. And if you can give us a review too, that's already helpful, really helpful there. And thanks a lot for listening. And we're going to see you next time. Stay safe out there.